Welcome once again. You're watching RwandaTV News with me, Ethan Tashavia.
And I, Gloria Mutesi. How was your week, Ethan?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well.
Had a good week?
It's been quite a productive week, but not like on personal level, but also globally. I mean, there's a lot going on at the moment.
I think it's been a fast-moving week.
Yeah, it has.
Let us know what you have.
Well, starting off tonight, on Saturday, Rwanda joined the rest of the world in marking the International Day of the Eradication of Poverty, and local residents across the country have been urged to properly utilize projects meant to improve their social welfare and help them develop faster. Stationary kicks us off tonight with this story.
Across Rwanda, people find all sorts of ways to make a living and support their families. I work as a porter, making flower vases, and that is how I make a living and support my family. My creations help pay for health insurance and my children go to school. This is my only source of income. They survive because of this. I grow tomatoes, green beans and cabbages. Sometimes we are fortunate enough to export our produce, especially green beans. This is my job and it supports my family because this is all I do for a living. I am able to supply markets and save something for myself as well. This time around I grew cabbages, but during the last season I grew tomatoes, investing 600,000 Rwandan francs and selling them for 1.5 million. I made a profit of 900,000. There are those, however, who have struggled with poverty and they too are being assisted to develop by the government through programs like VUP, Girinka and the provision of housing facilities. Government officials have noted that the efforts have been paying off with close to 70% of the population now above the poverty line.
Igihugu cyacu cyamenyekanye nk'igihugu cyafashije abaturage bacyo benshi.
Our country is known for having helped many of its people to come out of poverty, with more than 1 million lifted above the poverty line in just 5 to 7 years, thanks to programs like Girinka, VUP and others meant to help the people develop. About a decade back or so, 2/3 of the population, about 60%, were living below the poverty line. Now it has flipped, with 2/3 above it. Professor Anastase Shaka says the need to fight poverty should not be underestimated. We are living in difficult times with this COVID-19 pandemic, which has played a role in worsening poverty, with people not working their full shifts, which is why today, as we mark the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, we should remember the importance of self-reliance and urge people to properly utilize the support they receive in order to develop, especially those who receive government support, who must see self-reliance as the ultimate goal and sign performance contracts to that end. In 2 years at most, a person should be able to move up from the group of those in poverty, and we want to undertake this journey with all Rwandans, and they should seek to make their families self-sufficient as part of their performance contracts. The Ministry of Local Government says every year the government of Rwanda spends more than 100 billion Rwandan francs helping more than 500,000 families with their more than 2.5 million members to come out of poverty. The UN, meanwhile, says the COVID-19 pandemic has made life worse for the world's poor, with an extra 115 million people in danger of slipping into extreme poverty.
In these extraordinary times, we need extraordinary efforts to fight poverty. The pandemic demands strong collective action. Governments must accelerate economic transformation by investing in a green, sustainable recovery. We need a new generation of social protection programs that also cover people working in the informal economy. Joining together in common cause is the only way we will emerge safely from this pandemic. On the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, let's stand in solidarity with people living in poverty.
The UN says 736 million people around the world live in poverty, 689 million of them in extreme poverty. 4/5 of those people live in rural areas, and the worst rates of poverty are found in conflict-stricken countries.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. Hotels and other hospitality service providers are pleased with the progress in Rwanda's fight against COVID-19 an indication that the country is headed into normalization following months of economic disruption caused by the pandemic. We have more. In Rwanda, hospitality establishments form the broader service sector that contributes one of the biggest shares to the national GDP. However, hospitality establishments are some of the economic players that have suffered the most from COVID-19 crisis. Over the past weeks, there has been gradual reopening of hospitality sector following months of COVID-19 shutdown. Businesses are picking up and job opportunities have been secured.
I am happy that I got my job back. We were worried about everything, life, and if we would be reinstated. But things have changed. Thanks to the trust and understanding we have with our bosses, we're now back to work.
At this hotel, employees were laid off when the hospitality were ordered to close during COVID-19 lockdown. But since the reopening, 90% of the jobs have been reinstated. This is an indication that the country is headed into normalization following months of economic disruption caused by the pandemic.
Currently,
90% of our staff is back to work. Life is returning to normal and we owe it to the government for their help. We are not operating fully. We started with 30% and now we are at 50%. But there is hope we will return to normal soon. People are able to attend meetings, weddings and other events. We are pleased with the progress and it is a sign that life is returning to normal. We thank the government for the measures taken. We have slashed the prices by 50% and we are also willing to offer services at any cost. However, hoteliers are concerned that they are limited in the services they offer, yet these services have high demand. What we request from the government is to consider permitting us to resume some services which are still restricted. Services such as gym, sauna and massage should be allowed to reopen in accordance with COVID-19 guidelines. This will enable us to restate some of the staff members who are still out of jobs. According to some business operators, the 100 billion worth of National Economic Recovery Fund, which was established to support businesses affected by COVID-19 pandemic, has played a key role in helping hospitality sector to bounce back from the economic setback. Gloria, hoteliers are complaining that gyms and sauna and massage parlors should reopen. What do you think?
One step at a time. Ultimately, they will all be open, but one step at a time. That's what I think.
Have you seen what we've turned into? Look, well, I'm not going to...
There are other means. For now, jog, run, walk, whatever, but ultimately, I'm sure they'll be open at a certain time.
I rest the case.
Well, so in a more interesting note, do you take motors?
Yeah, quite often.
Which kind of person are you? Are you the one that negotiates with the motorist to not use the meter, or you just sit and go?
I'll not lie, I negotiate. We all negotiate, don't we? Do you?
Well, in other news, the Rwanda Utilities and Regulatory Authority encourages motorcyclists to embrace the culture of electronic payment through the use of taxi meters apps, saying apart from avoiding the exchange of cash, it's also a good way to help motorcyclists to record their regular transactions, which could help them acquire loans from financial institutions to help them further their economic activities. Motorcycles, otherwise known as taxi motors, are a means of transport widely used by many and sustaining countless people in Rwanda. Statistics show that in Kigali city alone, there are 26,000 motorcyclists. Just like it is with public transport buses and taxi cabs, meters have been installed in taxi motors to facilitate electronic transactions. It is a phone installed with a taxi meters app that is fixed on a motorcycle and begins to count at the start of the trip, where the passenger pays based on the distance covered. We found Niyo Bikora Shafi in Nyabugogo about to start his trip to Chimisagara. He is expected to use a taximeter. He, however, says it's the motorist that benefits in this because they can't be cheated.
Before, when I was coming from Nyabugogo going to Onatracom, I used to pay 400 Rwandan francs, but now with the meter, I am paying 700. So as passengers, it is expensive for us.
Among other targets, the use of the taximeter technology came to facilitate the growth of contactless transactions between a passenger and the taxi motor operator. Motorists who use it explain that apart from the first 2 kilometers that cost a standard fee of 300 Rwanda francs, they usually don't incur losses because the money they are paid is obvious.
Before, we would negotiate, but the meter now detects the distance covered. So the good thing is that I don't incur any losses. But before, when we would negotiate, the passenger would sometimes give me less money, which is not the case now.
On the road, some taxi motor operators that have the meters use them, while there are those that have the meters but don't use them. There's also a big number of motorists who are yet to install taxi meters on their taxi motors. This doesn't take away the fact that some passengers go ahead and agree with the motorcyclists about the prices to various destinations without using the meters, something that hampered compliance with the set regulations. We negotiated and they are taking us at a subsidized price. They have charged us 700, but that's not what we would ideally pay. Usually it's about 800 to 1,000. They just helped us.
It really helps because it changes according to the distance, but passengers don't like it because they say it is expensive for them. For instance, if you take a passenger and they are charged 1,000 Rwandan francs, they refuse to pay it and give you 700 instead.
Daniel Ngarambe, the chairperson of the Rwanda Federation of Commercial Motorcyclists, emphasizes that although not all motorcyclists have embraced the use of taximeters, this technology helps motorcyclists to record their regular transactions, which could help them acquire loans from financial institutions to help them further their economic activities.
The other thing is that they will develop at a faster rate because when they would go to the bank and couldn't get mortgages because their work doesn't offer them bank statements. But this meter will help them with such because when one has an old motorcycle, they can buy a new one for them. Or if they require a loan, they can access it. We have many plans through this meter technology, such as the Ejo Heza will be done through this, which is all aimed at developing the motorcyclists.
The Rwanda Utilities and Regulatory Authority emphasizes that the use of electronic payments is the goal, but with the aim of avoiding contact transaction, even though it has not yet been achieved.
We remind passengers and motorcyclists to embrace using this technology as this is a great step. Passengers should ask the motorcyclists to use this meter always and not heed to paying direct cash. And for motorcyclists who have issues with their meters, they should report for them to be rectified. And for those that haven't received the meter yet, let them operate but ask to be paid through mobile money and avoid hand-to-hand transactions.
nakore ariko nibura mu guhererekanya amafaranga babireke ahubwo habe gukoresha mobile money.
Of the 26,000 taxi motors currently operating in Kigali, about 19,000 have the taxi meters for electronic transactions. The Rwanda Utilities and Regulatory Authority explains that even the remaining ones will get them in the near future, and it will be extended to taxi motorists working in other provinces.
While off air, at the mention of every word about negotiation, Gloria was giving me an eye, so for my own sake, please do not negotiate. Let's go commercial. Use tax meters and let's help the installation, rather the implementation of cashless economy. In other news, During his visit to Karongi district, the Minister of Infrastructure, Ambassador Claver Gatete, has said that in a partnership with the private sector, they will put more effort in developing the tourism sector in the western province. Gilles Mugwaneza has more.
Projects that were visited include those on Lake Kivu and East Shores, the Kivu Belt Road, and an international port that is being built in Karongi district. This port will be used to build ships that will help to change the tourism image there, as explained by Aremu Nyawaranga, the Chief Operating Officer of the Afrinest Group.
There are 2 ships that we are about to manufacture. The first one will be done in March, and it will be having 10 rooms. 2 of them will be presidential suites, and the second ship is expected to be done in June, and it will be having 20 rooms. We will manufacture the ships, but they will be used by the Mantis collection, and these are people that do lottery tourism. Except using more than 300 people in charge of teaching tourism and water-related matters, using a ship, manufacturing, or doing maintenance. There are other benefits that await Rwandans from the touristic point of view. There is revenue that comes into the country through taxes and help Rwandans as well as the country.
The government of Rwanda has committed to finding solutions to challenges pointed out by the investors in no more than 3 weeks.
We have told them that in 3 weeks they will have gotten electricity because we don't get it from far. It's near. That is not a problem because we are with REC officials and they have assured them that they will get electricity in 3 weeks. So that is no longer a problem. Another thing was the cement problem, and we have linked them to Simerwa and Prime Cement, and they have the same prices. There is no more problem.
Other issues affecting tourism on Lake Kivu include the damage to a 26-kilometer road from Muhanga to Karongi districts. The Minister of Infrastructure has said that it will be repaired as soon as possible. He has also said that Kivu Belt Road is going to be well maintained.
Local residents have been urged to provide accurate information pertaining their assets and income so that they are placed in the proper Ubudehe category. A trial phase of the categories has taken place in Ngoma sector of Huye district in the southern province, and the trial has been held at provincial level. The 5 new categories A, B, C, D, and E have replaced the first, second, third, and the fourth that were first introduced back in 2015. Officials at the Local Administrative Entities Development Agency have confirmed that communities are coming together to decide what categories families belong to, as a way of ensuring that there are no complaints afterwards with people claiming that they were placed in the wrong one. Huye district authorities say the practice run will also help residents provide accurate information when the exercise is done for real, with more local authorities to be trained in helping their residents provide the relevant information. The new categories are to come into effect next year.
In other news, Skol Factory, breweries manufacturing plant here in Rwanda, in partnership with the non-governmental organization FXB, are glad about their 3-year journey while helping the needy to get themselves out of poverty and improving their standards of living. Giselle Mugwaneza has the detail.
A total of 434 people from 60 families in Nyamirambo sector, Nyarugenge district were selected, and in collaboration with Skol and FXCB, they were grouped into savings and loan groups, taught them various trades, including small businesses, savings, combating malnutrition, HIV/AIDS prevention, and even paying for the education of children from these families. These families are grateful for the help they have received. What I have achieved is because I was given 120,000 Rwandan francs and I gained profit from it. Every year we would share and I would be able to achieve something for myself. They taught us how to have a balanced diet and supported us in big things, and we are no longer where we used to be. We learned about hygiene in our homes and meeting in groups and develop ourselves. This project cost about $200,000 over a 3-year period. The Score Factory says its goal has been achieved, as at least one beneficiary in the group and in the various activities they have been trained has the potential to generate 82,500 francs per month. They, however, say they would be earning up to 100,000 francs per month if it weren't for COVID-19.
Today we are celebrating the end of the great program that we created 3 years ago with FXB, which has the aim to support extremely families in extremely high poverty and to give them hope and to create with them a great future. So after 3 years, today it's a great joy for me to be here. And as I came twice a year to visit those families, I could really see the benefits that the team of FXB has produced to each one of them.
On the FXB side, that also closely monitored the implementation of the project, they say that the community has already developed capacity, and even though they were left on their own now, they're hopeful they will not slide back.
The first year we gave them a lot of support. The second year we asked them to spend the money they have in their groups and start giving 35% of what they need in their children's education and medical care. While in the third year we asked them to give 50% of what they needed and got it. So now we are letting them be on their own and they are in a good place with the hope that the advice and wisdom we have given them will help them and keep them going.
Among other things that were done include paying tuition for 152 children in primary schools, 62 in secondary schools, and 11 in vocational schools.
Thank you, Ghislaine. Now to bring you up to speed with the latest figures from the Ministry of Health, Rwanda today registered 6 new people that tested positive for the coronavirus. Among the 2,224 tests that were conducted today, 104 people also recovered in the last 24 hours. Active cases are now 169. Among the positive cases identified today, 1 is from Kigali, 4 from Chirehe district, and from the clusters in the refugee camps, 1 from Gicumbi district. Well, that's all we had for you today. Continue to stay safe, wear your face mask, and practice social distancing.
And of course, we want to thank the rest of the team that helped us put this together, the team that is led by our news director, Javier Mrezi. Many thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm Ethan Tashabia.
And I'm Gloria Mutesi. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.